Sunday. It's open mat day, and we're gonna go do some no-gi cross training. Right now we're in a pretty big, heavy training camp, getting ready for Pan Ams. It's gonna be about mid-March. That's gonna be in the gi. So currently the only no-gi training I'm actually getting in is Tuesday and Thursday, which normally is not a big deal. That's like just about as enough no-gi as I need, because I'm a big fan of the gi, and it's kind of like my preference to train in. But the thing's been recently is that Addison and Ethan, which are two of our primary athletes that we have at our gym that are competing professionally and training full time, 3 times every single day. Ethan twice, but he may tell you he does some strength and conditioning with it. Then you can say 3, but Ethan doesn't do a lot of strength and conditioning per se. But we're going to be doing more no-gi this year because we didn't really do any last year for them outside of Ethan. He did some no-gi, but it's just been training the gi and then taking it off, and whatever happens in no-gi. So with the rise of ADCC and just a general interest in performing well in no-gi, like we have a good feel and direction of where the guys are wanting to go, it's really piqued my interest to study more no-gi. Historically, what we've just always done in no-gi is just, like I said earlier, take the gi off and just roll. There's no real, I guess you could say, direction. But Sundays we generally head over to Springfield BJJ and we'll get some good training in, depending on who's there. But I've been studying a lot of O'Flanagan. Oh man, how do you say his name? Eoghan O'Flanagan. I'm probably saying it wrong. Super talented leg lock specialist is how a lot of people will categorize him. But he has a really interesting half guard butterfly that I've been studying a lot of, and the ability to deal with negative guard passers, which are basically defined by people that try to stay on the outside. They don't want to engage a whole lot. They'll try to pass, run away. But he has a lot of great looks on Choi Bars, some leg lock entries, and general guard retention details that has been really interesting to me. So we've been in this big, basically passing study in the gi and working through other stuff. We're polishing up, getting them ready for Pans, and we got Memphis and a couple other opens coming up first before we obviously have the big tournament at Pan Ams at Kissimmee, Florida, which will be about mid-March. But I've really been enjoying studying no-gi, specifically O'Flanagan, this half guard position. So I was gonna take today off and just kind of relax with the family, but we're gonna carve out a little bit of time to get some cross training in and show you guys what it's like at an open mat. And hopefully I'll get some opportunities to show you guys some of the Choi Bars I've been working on, and then some of the leg lock entries. And things go well, I should be able to put some commentary over some of the rolls, and should be fun and quite eventful. All right, guys, this is a roll with one of my good friends, Justin. He's a good purple belt, big guy. Safe to say, ultra heavy. But I've got the lasso with the left side, and my goal is to stack both of my hands on top of each other, potentially do an arm drag to the other side. Definitely did not work, but the reaction I was given, I end up looking to set up the Choi Bar, which is where I underhook under the arm, pull the elbow to my chest, and I have a couple options of what I could do. And with it being the first round of the day, my brain's kind of running everywhere just a little bit, but we end up opting to throw my leg over, looking to set up the Choi Bar. But in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I think I have the actual reverse triangle in this position. So I end up throwing my legs over, catching the arm, or excuse me, the shoulder and his head, locking up the triangle. And you can kind of tell I'm literally thinking to myself, all right, do I actually finish him here, or should I roll him up and over to the other side? And where my hesitation was rolling him to the other side is my good buddy Justin is a little bit bigger than me, as you guys can tell. So I'm about 190, 191, and well, you guys can do the math a little bit on Justin, but we ended up getting the submission off of that one. So we ended up progressing to our next round, and just about all day today, I was opting to play on my back because I'm trying to get more looks, opportunities of setting up some of the half guard butterfly, Choi bars, and any leg entanglements. And I had one specific grip for attacking the heel hook that I was really interested in being able to play with some. So having a little bit of fun with Justin here, messing with tripod sweeps, and I wasn't coming up off of that one, but a little bit of fun banter back and forth, talking to each other there. So, but you can tell I'm pretty relaxed, playing in the supine position, and looking for another opportunity to tripod sweep my good friend. But it's a good round, and I'm not quite sure. The thing I was struggling through the beginning part of the session is getting people to frame or grab my head. Like his left arm, nobody's arm was really making it much past my knee because I kept framing at the elbow joint, like you see my right hand's kind of doing right now, and nobody climbed up to my head. So I was having a real tough time getting some of these Choi bar looks in. And you end up seeing here later on in some of our future rounds to where we actually get some of those opportunities, because I had a massive light bulb moment go off in my head. And honestly, it was, we'll save it for a little bit later, but it was one of those things that I thought about the titles of one of O'Flanagan's videos or whatever, which basically was accepting the angle. So I guess we're not going to tell you later. I'll tell you now. But right now I'm looking at setting up a backside 50-50 look, and it doesn't go the way I thought it was going to go in my head. But here I get the grip I was looking for, which in that position, guys, what I was doing with my left hand, I grabbed the heel, and then I end up hugging it like a heel hook and attacking. It's actually a fun little grip that I learned watching a little bit of Robert Deagle. And I think I may have said his last name wrong, but incredibly talented grappler. But now I'm rolling with a blue belt named Zach. Real good, tough blue belt. One of those guys that if you ask him to roll, he's always saying yes, and he's always game to roll. Pretty tough and hard. But I could feel here that he was really interested in falling back for an ankle lock grip and attacking my legs. But I did a pretty decent job attacking the far arm, pulling him closer to me, and not really giving him that look. But here we get the arm drag on the far side, sneaking out to the side and getting the underhook right off the bat, straight into a knee cut. So it's great that we ended up in side pin. If I could go back in my head, I may have allowed him to hold my foot, so we could have gotten 2 points for the sweep and then 3 for the pass. Obviously, we're just training right now, but ultimately the goal is to improve our level so we can do better in competition. So thinking about those points are incredibly helpful. So as you guys could just see, I did my best impression of Joseph Chin chasing the back, hopping over. Did not go quite as well as I was hoping, but we ended up continuing working on top, looking to collect his bottom arm. So anytime Zach would come up to his elbow, my left arm, which is on the back side of him, would reach under his body, grab his forearm, and I would collapse him down to his shoulder. And for anybody that's been in this position before, it is very annoying and difficult to deal with. So we end up throwing our arm over, collecting the head, looking for an opportunity to set up an arm triangle. And arm triangle has been kind of on my list of submissions to really polish up and get better at, because the biggest thing I struggle with arm triangles is getting my elbow joint, like the part where your forearm and your bicep kind of meet together. So not the elbow, but the other side of your elbow. We call it the elbow joint. Really connected to your partner's neck, because that's where the choke comes into play. And it doesn't matter if they're answering the phone or whatever defense they're trying, they're going to go 9-9. And that's the goal. So mount a position that you do not want to rush. Mount a position that you kind of want to take your time, collect the arms above the head one at a time, and look to set up your attacks. So, but kind of giving you guys a heads up, we end up getting the arm triangle here, but there are a couple mother's milks attacks, I guess you could say. Some of the people call it, but we also call it a smother tap that we end up getting. But I have a nice way of getting it that you guys will see, which nice way of doing smother tap doesn't make sense, but hey. And then now we're thinking more about getting some heel hook looks. So I'm kind of giving him a little bit of opportunity, hoping he's going to fall back on my leg a little bit, but we're just kind of playing in this De La Riva position here. And now Now we're kind of letting him play a little bit to the outside. And I quite haven't yet because this is when you guys can't see it probably, but I feel it, the sense of impatience. And then this is the moment where he actually gets to my head and I end up collecting the arm and getting the arm bar. If I could have got his hips further away, I would have shoulder crunched and swept with it, but we end up getting the arm bar. But this is when I started to realize if I allow them to pass a little bit more to get a little deeper, I'm getting the Choi Bar look, or minimally, I'm getting a look on the legs. Because if they defend the Choi Bar, they give you the legs. They defend the legs, they give you the Choi Bar. A better way of phrasing that, though, is like they give you the upper body. So, good. Now we end up catching the outside heel hook with that grip that we've been playing with. It's called the Nicholas something grip. I forgot exactly what Robert was calling it, but it's named after a specific black belt, which we're going to name it something else because that's kind of odd to be calling it after somebody's name. But then again, people call it Kyle Terra ankle lock, and we call it Del Hiva ankle lock, but all respect to Kyle. He's freaking incredible.
And this is the other thing, too. There were a handful of moments that people were passing to my left side, which we'll go ahead and call the weak side. So we try to get some looks and feel in this position here, but a lot of times the people would honestly just accept to go to the other side. But we took our attempt of looking for the Choi Bar set up here, and I should have brought my knee to the other side of his head and pushed it away from me before attacking the Choi Bar. But again, this is to where, man, we are so new into studying this. So I thought, oh, maybe good idea, go for the triangle. But then I remember, okay, knee to the head, push and move. And then it looks like I go back away from it. It looks like I'm actually trying to attack a triangle here. In fact, I remember this. And then I end up taking the arm drag because I felt his arm across my body. So anytime you feel that, perfect opportunity to arm drag. And it looks like my guy here is trying to either attack my legs or hoping to set up a flower sweep, which obviously the guy on top is always going to think that's not going to happen. But Zach's a good grappler. He's a good blue belt. I really enjoy training with him because he's not just tough, but he gives good reactions too. So these are some of the moments you'll see me working some of my passing, circling to the outside, attacking the arm. And here, inevitably, we get the arm. And now we're going to be rolling with another guy named Stacy. I really like this guy, really good dude. Very helpful with fun things that I'm not very good at. But we end up getting into some leg entanglements, having some fun. And I could tell he's really been kind of working and studying a little bit of some of his heel hooks. Because when I asked him if he wanted to do something, he was like, oh, yes, I do. So in this one, we were really trying to go for that Nicholas grip and set up some of the heel hooks, but he did a good job using his free leg to actually hand fight. When I say hand fight, he's using his foot against my hand. So he was disrupting my grips and doing a real good job. But I think we end up getting the grip here following through, but he's just doing, honestly, a good job of not letting me get my grips. And truthfully, I thought about this after the fact. I felt like I was trying to set up the grip too quick, as opposed to securing the leg, isolating the heel, and then attacking. But there I felt 100% okay. I'm ballerina toeing my foot, and there was no way I was going to get hit there. So we end up kind of recomposing. I'm thinking, okay, let's quit trying to grab the heel. Let's lock it up, just like we saw with the Gordon Ryan instructional. And here, I believe this is when we're going to set up the ankle lock. So I'm trying to grab just the Achilles. I'm going to crunch, and I'm going to get my arm in. Or actually, excuse me, looks like I was fishing back for the heel. I may have this mixed up in the order of things. Oh, this is when we're like, yep, we're getting this heel. I have no clue what this grip is called. This is me studying and observing Craig Jones, a handful of those guys always doing it. We end up getting the tap. But there's something unique about elevating that heel, stacking your wrist on top of your wrist to attack that. So if you guys have a better answer and name for that for me, please let me know. But this is just observation of me studying and watching a lot of films. So but we end up letting Stacey kind of play to his butt. We get on top, trying to work some more passing. I'm hoping to invite him to frame on my chest so I can do a slap by. But then I realize this stinker has his elbow wrapped 100% behind my leg, behind my knee. I thought for a second, I was like, oh, maybe he's going to try to set up a false reap. Nope, didn't go for it one time. But we ended up sitting back here. And honestly, I didn't feel too much of a threat until here in just a minute. I was like, oh, this ain't good. I can't let this guy get on top. What's going on here? So got a little bit of a weird position here. End up hugging the leg, lifting it up so I can keep him on his butt. And if I remember correctly, I think we start fishing for the underhook and then hopping over to the other side. And once you guys get that underhook, it's basically checkmate. It's a done deal. So in this position here, we're working some of our Giancarlo chest to chest, trying to work for the double underhooks. But he's doing a good job with his right arm, kind of fighting and framing up my elbow, which is not a big deal. But the guy really was doing a good job moving his hips away from me. So I like keeping my hips by my partner's hips because then I can keep myself close and go to shin mount, which we're looking to hope to do here, if I remember correctly. But when you guys have that chest to chest and you take your hand like I am with my left hand here, putting it to the mat, if they keep moving their hips away, he's going to naturally allow you to get his elbows above his head. But this is when Stacy ends up going for a NoGi Ezekiel, which ends up giving me mount, and I have no problem defending. Truthfully, I really don't respect that submission too much. I mean, I know there's some guys that put people to sleep, and then there's that one dude in the UFC that has done a lot of that submission. But I'm very confident in defending it and dealing with it, especially if there are no gi grips. So here we're just trying to get the elbows above the head, trying to attack, and this may be one of those moments you guys get to see me do the smother tap, which is something we've been working, kind of playing with. But this is a submission you can apply like a jerk, or you can apply it subtly, just got like slight pressure, trying to block their airways, which is what we ended up doing here soon, if I remember correctly. But some of these mount positions, you can look like you're there for a minute, but if the person on bottom's hand fighting well, this is the time when you cook your partner and you take your time, because the goal here is to isolate one arm above the head, one at a time. You guys can see I'm putting both of my feet to the hips, trying to give good pressure. And he's doing a good job of escaping his elbow back. And we're going to have to go back through and review this film to see kind of what was the story there. Because I ended up switching, I think, to the other arm. No, we ended up having to reset just all together. Oh my biscuits. I remember this position thinking there is no stinking way I'm letting somebody get out with that. And then we end up getting the smother tap. Okay, just to be clear though, that was not I can't believe you're throwing legs up and over me. Now I'm going to smother tap you. But the smother tap did present itself there. I ended up trapping his arms and ultimately ended up getting the submission. So we ended up going again, and I ended up going to my back. We ended up looking up to get some more leg entanglement exchanges because I could tell he wasn't trying to run from them. He was really wanting to get into them. And honestly, like some of his reactions he was giving me using his feet to fight my hands was kind of a little frustrating. Kind of want to get another look, another take on it. But I ended up using my legs to kind of split his. And I was going to separate, go for a toe hold, but the buzzer ended up going off. And then here's our next round that we did with my buddy Justin again. But this is when we're both a little bit more warmed up, having a little bit more fun. So he allowed me to start on my back. So we're playing the supine position again. And this is when I'm kind of starting to think allowing him to pass a little bit more so I can get the opportunity of attacking the upper body. But for some odd reason, on this side, I was feeling super good about attacking the legs, like going for the false reap in some of the other rounds that we may go over today. And then also attacking this little sneaky knee bar that I did there. And you guys may want to rewind and actually watch that again because it was pretty smooth, especially against Justin, because Justin is not just a big, strong cat. Like, he's got pretty darn good jiu-jitsu. He's a smart guy, especially when it comes to defending the legs. So I ended up pretending like I was going to play on my feet, but we all know that wasn't going to happen today because we're trying to work our supine position here. So wasn't too much of a trouble getting my legs back in after he kind of steps through. And Justin has better vision than I do when it comes to seeing that there's children above us, basically. So we don't want to fall into them, especially with somebody of Justin's size and stature, I guess you could say. So this was kind of an interesting position. I kind of realized I don't like his knee on my sternum right here. And truthfully, I wasn't really sure what I thought was going to happen, but I ended up getting the super hook, bringing him back down to half guard. And he beat my shin shield here, but we're not too crazy concerned because, as you can see, we can sink that butterfly hook back in that I'm doing with my left foot, and we're just patient and calm and relaxed here. So we end up getting that hook in. I thought I was going to be able to go for that arm drag. He ends up pulling his arm out. That stinker. And now we get an opportunity for the Choi Bar. So again, I look to bring my knee up, but he's blocking my hip. But kudos to myself for thinking about bringing my knee in to block. But this is one of those weird situations I got in here because Justin ended up catching my elbow. You guys can't see it, but the one on bottom, my right arm, he's actually pulling my elbow in, trying to attack Americana. It's like not breaking tight right now, but it's like the kind of tightness that you're like, yeah, I feel that, and I'm aware something's there. So we end up just coming up on top because Justin was really married to it. He's like, I'm going to get this puppy. But you guys can see right there how he's attacking it. I just had to be patient, pay attention to where my elbow was in relation to my ribs. If it goes too much in the center of my chest, could be some good, decent, annoying pressure. Maybe end up hurting myself or having a tap. But we end up getting out, getting on top, getting to the kneecap position here. Now, man, once someone's got you in a submission they think they have you in, and you get them somewhere like this, there's a moment of them just kind of recollecting their stuff. That's not true for everybody, but the majority of people out there, after you escape one of their attacks and you get them in a dominant position like this, man, it's tough to kind of bounce back from and go there. And this is when we had the chest to chest, and we end up going for the shin mount. And again, I keep my hips so close because the closer your knee and hips are to your partner's hips, if he can't hip away from you, his knee's not gonna get in to get his guard back. But we had to be patient here because his frame that he has on my hip and on my thigh there, you see with his left and right hand, if I'm not careful, he's going to push my leg between his legs and catch me again in, well, it wouldn't be again. It'd be 3/4 mount, but he would have my ankle again at this point. And we didn't want that to happen. So we're pressuring, taking our time, and I bring my left foot in. If you guys saw that, my left foot in on top of his quad to kind of block it. I bring my right foot over. It allows me to get the mount position here. So from here, he still isn't actually at a decent spot to start escaping. So he had to kind of the elbow escape there. So I ended up threatening the smother to bring both of his hands up. Because anytime you attack the upper body while they're in mount, they can't really escape. I mean, there are times that people like attack the upper body, you can ignore it and try to escape if you're really confident you're going to be able to. But in reality, like, you have to defend the submission that they're looking to go for on top. So from this mount position, we keep trying to add as much good pressure as we can. And if I remember correctly, I think this round kind of progresses like this. So let's go ahead and move on to our next one. All right, so now we're going with Zach again. You guys will see quite a few of my matches with Zach. Because, again, Zach is a good guy to practice new stuff on. Very tough, good blue belt. Justin's another good one, too. But this is when I'm trying to invite him to pass a little bit more. I don't want him to step to my hip, obviously, like past my knee and everything. But this is when we start attacking the legs a little bit more. I end up trying to set up and go for his heel. But he actually does a good job defending here. He's starting to dig for my heel. And I'm like, I don't like that. So I end up ballerina toeing, and I end up catching his foot, hitting him with a corkscrew foot lock. A lot of people also call it a lens lock. But Kyle's got some recent videos out there on his website on the corkscrew submission, and it's really stinking good. He's got a lot of it from Single X. I just kind of obviously used it in this situation here that it was, but incredibly tight, incredibly fast submission. But it's called the corkscrew foot lock. But you can also find it as lens lock, which I'm pretty sure is named after my buddy Attilo Lenz. But we end up getting in position here. He almost passes, and then I get myself up into the octopus guard, hooking that near leg and getting back on top, which this is kind of what we were messing with about 2 to 3 weeks ago with the octopus guard. And it's been one of those studies that it's so easy to put into your game. You just have to understand some of the basic principles of it, and you guys should be able to apply it immediately, because it's one of those things that you're not going to overly exert yourself trying to get your guard back. You're just going to, for lack of a better word, build height and come up on top or take their back. It's a really incredibly fun submission. But here, Zach's doing a really good job fighting, trying to get the far side. But again, I want to make sure I keep my chest to his upper chest. because I don't want him to be able to octopus guard me back. But I know Zach studied a little bit of the octopus guard because we talked about it, but I don't think Zach's level is at a point that he would be able to kind of make it happen to be able to get up with that, if that makes sense. But Zach's absolutely incredible, so that's no dock to him. But I would encourage you guys, anytime you're rolling with somebody with a technique, always respect it as if they can hit it on you for sure, no matter what the level difference is here. So we ended up getting on top, and I'm trying to look for this like toe hold from is that called reverse close guard? But I'm kind of not in reverse close guard. But I was trying to find it with it's not Owen Jones. No, it is Owen Jones. Owen Jones has some of these interesting toe hold variations that I was looking for, but we ended up opting to turn around, get back on top, and get them out. And we had an opportunity to go for a smother tap, slight pressure. I'm not smashing his nose, just kind of blocking his ability to breathe, and we get the tap. So after that submission, we end up getting the same spot again, supine guard. Trying to see how far I can let him pass to see if I can get some of those looks on the upper body and the legs. But at this moment, we end up shooting for reverse close guard and end up isolating the foot. And that toe hold I was telling you guys about, we found it and ended up getting it. So it was kind of interesting because if I didn't get that, I was going to go for the reverse triangle, which would have been interesting to go for as well. Because as you guys saw when I had him in the reverse close guard, I had one of his arms also trapped too. It's also known as donkey guard, but I feel more sophisticated when I say reverse close guard because saying donkey guard just does not come off right. So this we're hunting for the arm drag, end up hunting for the legs. His head goes down. So we end up trapping him and end up catching him in a triangle in this position here. So here there are ways you can actually finish the choke. I prefer attacking the arm. It's just quicker, a little bit more low-hanging fruit. It's not necessarily lazy to do that, but yeah, it's just easier. I mean, if you get $1 million for taking one step or $1 million for taking 5 steps, everybody's taking one step. You're going to take the easier way if it's not cheating or anything. So end up getting supine again. Looks like I'm trying to pull and I'm trying to threaten the lower body now because if I threaten the lower body, look what he does. He tries to block my head, blocking the head, ends up giving the upper body, ends up giving the arm bar. So now we're starting to get a little bit of rhythm, feeling pretty good. This kind of dual mindset of like attack the legs, they block, they go for the upper body, they block the upper body, go for the lower body. This is when we rolled through, and I ended up getting 50-50 here. End up kind of collecting the other leg, bringing it over, and I'm hoping in my head to get this Nicholas grip on the heel, which we're going to get him up with a fun name for, but we end up getting it. So getting in the half guard again, we ended up kind of building our frames. His knee's above my knee. So I ended up taking this opportunity to kind of shoot up and through, set up an octopus guard, end up hooking that leg and getting up on top. If you don't hook that leg, especially with the grips he had, the hooks that he had, he was going to be able to for sure stop me from doing that. But thankfully, I was able to do it. But here, I was hoping to try to get like kind of like a Diego Pato reverse close guard, but with him looking away from me. But he ended up turning and facing me again. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Diego Pato, just Google or YouTube Diego Pato and watch some of his NoGi stuff. It is wild what the guy does with some of the reverse close guard stuff, some of his passing that he does too. It's absolutely insane. So moving on again, we end up resetting, get myself in the supine position to where I am looking to set up a Choi Bar, but again, we end up getting this inverted triangle. This triangle is pretty stinking strong here. So I end up pinching my knees and actually trying to go for the choke as opposed to attacking the arms as I roll him over, pinching those knees, and we end up getting the tap here. So that was kind of a first for me, especially with that submission, because normally I just strictly attack the upper body, but I actually went and applied the choke on that one. So we end up resetting, going again, and again, I am down on my back, playing what's called supine in this position here. So he's looking for different ways to set up his attack again, he keeps thinking about that leg. He did that the whole practice and did not fall back for it one time. But the whole idea here is that I'm allowing him to get a little deeper so I can get attacks in the upper body. But now we've kind of already ran through a lot of our offense. What I do later on in the practices, especially if I got other stuff I'm trying to work, is I attack things like this, different variations of different stuff I'm trying to get good at.
which in this example is octopus guard. So going again, obviously we end up pulling guard, supine position again. And this is one that got a little spunky, but you still can square yourself back up. So it's not a big deal. But I was really hoping to catch that Choi Bar. That's been one thing I've really been hoping to get. But ever since we learned that new Nicholas grip, I've been looking for the legs a lot more, which is honestly a bit of a blessing, because when you attack the legs, it's made it so much easier to get the upper body. And then now when they're defending the upper body, it's made it much easier to get the lower body. So this is kind of an interesting position here, because this is the first time he was trying to play like a little bit of double under and over under, but I'm super confident defending against that. And then we end up catching the inverted triangle here. He ends up doing a headstand, hopping to the other side, and I got him in the crucifix position here. And this is one part of the round that I definitely do not want Ethan to see, one of our blue belt athletes. He is an absolute stud in the crucifix position, and I wasn't able to finish it from there. I actually ended up bailing, hopping out of it, using that Kimura grip to allow myself to get back on the top. So I keep hoping for some reason here that he's going to come up and turtle, and then I could be on his back, kind of like with reverse back control. So instead of my head facing his head on his back, it'd be like my head facing, for lack of a better word, his butt. But he ends up trying to attack some of my legs here. Truthfully, it didn't feel like there was really much of anything there, but I still need to respect it.
So we just finished up NoGi open mat. I really had to focus, like I was telling you guys earlier, on being able to hit some of the Choi bars and just in general the half guard butterfly. I didn't mention this, but hitting some octopus guard sweeps were always kind of in my head. And the one thing that clicked towards the end for me was how O'Flanagan always talks about how allowing people to kind of like accepting the angle, letting them get a little further ahead than what you want, because it really gives some of those Choi bar opportunities. And I was able to hit one Choi bar to the 100% to taking them over to attack in the back. But the whole goal and idea for that training was working some of the stuff that I've been studying. Now, we got film of some of those rounds today, and with giving some explanation of some of the things that were happening. The real purpose of that is me going back through and seeing what was and wasn't working. So one of the things that I have that really kind of hit in my head, I was like, man, what was happening in this situation that caused me to have this reaction? I didn't really know what to do. And if I didn't film it, there's no way I could go back as well, because my memory of what happened versus the video of what actually happened, they're never the same. They're going to be similar because I was there, I remember, but they're never going to be exactly the same. And the one part that I'm thinking about is when I was rolling with Jeff, there's these warm-ups that we do when they collapse your leg in half guard. I grab the front of my knee, I pull it up and over, and I got my frame back with my top leg for half guard. But all of those have been done from like the leg weave. So it's when people do it with the arm. So the arm's kind of trapped in there too. And the one thing I always have in my head, I'm like, man, I gotta pull this leg out, get my frame back before he really collapses behind my hip and my back. So the arm that would be doing like the arm weave, collapsing your leg down when you're in half guard, it gets out and gets around the back. Well, the one thing Jeff was doing that I'm struggling to see what exactly was causing it to happen was that he was getting my leg collapsed, but then his arm was like right on my hip and on my spine. And it threw me for a loop, because what I've been studying and going through, I didn't have that reaction in my head. I've heard it as a warning listening to O'Flanagan, but I didn't have it as like, if this happens, do this. So I'm gonna have to go back in there and do some digging. Chances are though, thankfully, I filmed the rounds because I had intentions of making this video, and I think I'm gonna get a better result than if I just went off memory and then trying to research what do you do if that happens, because my gut tells me I was doing something wrong, or I was just really late doing something. So we're gonna figure out what that is. I felt like I had an epiphany
kind of keep my hands closed, tight, holding my shins. And some of the later rounds, when I was getting to roll with Zach, he's a really good, tough blue belt. Really enjoyed training with him. Good dude too. But I started to realize that like if I'm framing too early on the arms and doing normal guard retention things, trying to keep your partner square with you, get him in a guard, I wasn't getting a lot of Choi Bar opportunities. The legs were kind of presenting themselves, but I wasn't getting him like framing on my chest or like grabbing the back of my neck, because I would frame at his elbow joint so then he can't reach that far. And it took a couple rounds for me to realize it, and I was like accepting the angle, because I was thinking about one of O'Flanagan's titles of one of his techniques he was kind of teaching, going through with the film study I'm in, and I allowed him to get a little further, and then as he was reaching, I reached for the Choi Bar, and as I did that, I got the reaction I was hoping for. I don't recall if I immediately capitalized it or if I had one of those moments of like, oh my gosh, I got the reaction I was wanting, because I was struggling to get it the exact way I was studying it, and we got it. So also too, I feel like I got a good realization allowing them to pass kind of like to the outside of like getting your lasso in. Obviously you can't do traditional lasso like you would in the gi and no-gi, but it plays a big role, and I feel like I got some good wrestle up opportunities, a couple octopus ones, but the rounds felt good. Got a good sweat. I'm gonna go home now, get showered up, and probably look to get some food in me. We did a little bit of fasting today. My body's just kind of needing a little bit of a reset, I feel like, but that was Open Mat. Hope you guys enjoyed some of the commentary that I'm hoping to put over some of the video. At least that's the plan. Let me know what you guys want to see in the upcoming videos. Ones we got coming up, we're going to be showing a lot of Ethan and Addison's preparation coming up to Pans. A lot of it from my perspective as their coach, how I'm planning and prepping some of their training and choosing their rounds and their drilling, and what freedom I'm giving to them to contribute to the training as well. So our gym's got one Pan champion so far, so hopefully we can get 2 more, and maybe our first juvenile Pan champion, because we'll be having Abby out there. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you guys have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Love the opportunity to help you guys, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.